Good evening to one and all. Today, this class is for class 9th for the chapter tissue. In the last class, we have learned about the skeletal connective tissue. That is about cartilage as well as bone we have learned. Today, we will learn about vascular or fluid connective tissue. Vascular or fluid connective tissue. Vascular means anything which is having connectivity. Anything which is having connectivity or anything which is capable to connect. Just like the wiring of electricity, it is connecting all over the house for the proper glowing of bulb, running of fan, air conditions and all. So similarly, the vascular tissue also means the connectivity. The tissue which is having the capability or having the ability to connect, or the tissue which is acting as a wiring structure of our body. Now, the vascular or fluid connective tissue is having two parts, namely blood and lymph. We will talk about blood first, then we will go through lymph. Now, first one is blood. The blood is, on having a deep study on blood, we found the blood is having two components. Firstly, the plasma, that is the liquid component of the blood, and secondly, the corpuscles, that is the cellular component of the blood. Means if there is no plasma, the blood cannot flow, and if there is no cells, the blood cannot form a connective tissue, cannot form a roll of connective tissue. Now, what happens is, when we are talking about plasma firstly we will talk about plasma. Plasma is a straw color fluid. Before going to plasma, let us have a talk about the matrix of the blood. The matrix of the blood, or let us talk as a whole, the matrix of the fluid connective tissue. The matrix of the fluid connective tissue, that is the internal network of the tissue. The internal network of the tissue or the fluid connective tissue is very much loose. It is very much loose, so that it can have a very nice flow of connection throughout. The connection should not be disturbed. That is the reason why the matrix is very much loose. So it can connect from one part to the other part of the body. Now, similarly, the blood is also having a very loose matrix inside. That is the reason why the connectivity of the blood is very much proper. There is no problem about it. So what I said, the blood is having plasma and corpuscles. Plasma is the liquid content of the blood. The plasma is composed of 85 to 90% water and 5 to 10% organic or inorganic solutes, or organic or inorganic components. Some kind of salt, some kind of traces of protein, the plasma is having. But majority of the plasma is having 85 to 90% of water. Now, when we are seeing the plasma as a whole component of the blood, we found that the plasma is making 55 to 60% of the volume of blood. 55 to 60%, yes. Now, hardly, if 55 to 60% is the component of plasma in the blood, then the rest amount, that is 40 to 45%, is only the cellular part, that is the corpuscles. Corpuscles means the cellular part of the blood. So majority of the part of the blood is composed of plasma, that is of 55 to 60%, and 40 to 45% only the cellular or the corpuscles part of the blood. Now, here we have to see first. So this is all about plasma. Plasma is the liquid content of the blood, and it allows the blood to flow. Because of plasma only the blood flow. If there is no plasma, the blood cannot flow. Plasma is the liquid content. Now, coming to the corpuscles, which constitutes about 40 to 45% in the blood. So there are three components of the cellular part of the blood. That is RBCs, WBCs and platelets. Three major components: RBCs, WBCs and the platelets. Now, when we are talking about RBCs, the RBCs does not have any nucleus. I repeat, the mature RBCs does not have any nucleus. But when we are talking about the, when we are talking about the young RBCs, the newly formed RBC, newly produced RBCs, they do have nucleus. But due to the maturity of the young RBCs to the adult RBC, that time the nucleus will be vanished. Why? So that the hemoglobin could be more in the RBC. Why the RBC is red in color? Because of the presence of hemoglobin. Why the hemoglobin is red in color? Because of the presence of iron. Because of the presence of hemoglobin, RBCs are red in color, red blood cells or erythrocytes. Erythrocytes, erythrocytes. RBCs are also biologically known as erythrocytes. So why the RBCs are red in color? Because of presence of hemoglobin. Why hemoglobin is red in color? Because of the presence of iron. Simply because of the presence of iron only the hemoglobin is red in color. Now, the RBCs which is red in color having the pigment hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is an oxygen carrier. So since the hemoglobin will trap the oxygen and it will take the oxygen from one part of the body to the other part of the body. It will carry the oxygen wherever the oxygen is required. Now, it does not have nucleus. The mature RBCs does not have nucleus, so as to give space for the hemoglobin, so that there will be more presence of hemoglobin, so as to trap the oxygen and to take the oxygen to the desired part of the body. Now, RBCs are biconcave in shape. Biconcave means disc, round, like this. Biconcave in shape. RBCs are generally biconcave in shape, round completely, so that they can trap more and more oxygen and take them to the desired tissue for the proper respiration. Now, talking about WBCs, RBC erythrocytes. WBCs are also known as leukocytes. Leukocytes, Leucocytes, or else we can also write Leukocytes. Both the spellings are correct, CO or KO. So WBCs are known as leukocytes. So leukocytes are nucleated. It is having nucleus and they fights against infection. Leukocytes will be fighting against the infection. Wherever there will be infection, the leukocytes will be reaching and they will fight against the infection. And they are amoeboid in shape, means their shapes are very much irregular. Since they are having irregular shape, that's why they can reach any desired point where the infection has occurred. Since they are having irregular shape. Now, for extra knowledge, I'm saying over here, the WBCs follows two processes. One is diapedesis. Diapedesis. I'm writing here for you DIA. Diapedesis. Diapedesis. Diapedesis is the process by which the WBC cells will move. So they can squeeze out through the blood vessels, so that they could reach the desired part where the infection has actually occurred. That is known as diapedesis. And then the next one is phagocytosis. Phagocytosis. Phagocytosis means the process by which the WBC will kill the germs. They will trap the germs and they will engulf the germs and they will kill it. So diapedesis is the amoeboid movement of the WBCs. Since they are irregular in shape, amoeboid in shape, so the amoeboid shape of the WBCs, by the help of which they can move through the narrow blood vessels, that is known as diapedesis, movement of the WBCs. And the process of engulfing of the germs by the WBCs is called as the phagocytosis. Next one is platelets. Platelets are colorless. They also does not possess any nucleus. They are colorless. They will not possess any nucleus. White blood cells, they don't have hemoglobin, so they are white in color. But platelets, they are colorless and they does not possess any nucleus, and especially they are round shaped. Eventually they are round in shape, we can say. So wherever the blood cells shown in the book as a round, then we confirm that will be platelets only. Platelets biologically also known as thrombocytes. 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 Erythrocytes for RBC, leukocyte for WBCs, and platelets thrombocytes. Now, so the main function of this platelets is to coagulate the blood. So whenever we are having a cut, any deep cut, and we are bleeding, after certain time we can see a brown color clot forms. After certain period of time we can see a brown color clot forms over the wound because of the presence of platelets or the thrombocytes. These platelets or the thrombocytes will clot the blood at the particular position and at the particular place where the wound has actually taken place, and thereby the blood bleeding will be stopped. Now, next one is the lymph. So lymph is having two parts, plasma and WBC. Lymph does not possess any RBCs. It is only having plasma so that the lymph could flow, and it is having the WBCs. so that it can attack the germs which has caused infection in our body. Now, lymph does not flow through the blood vessels. They are having special vessels known as lymph vessels, and they are having a special fluid also known as lymphatic fluid. And in our whole body, right from our neck, from this place, from the neck, this region of the neck where I am touching right now, from this region till the toes, we are having small lymph nodes. We can feel it when we are having any kind of bacterial or viral infection in our body. Those lymph nodes will be swollen. We can touch it. And whenever we will be touching it, we can feel a pea-like, swollen pea-like structure over here under the skin. Especially in the armpits, in the thighs, we are having this lymph nodes. Swelling of the lymph nodes shows that somewhere the infection has occurred. For example, persons having scalp infection, any fungal infection on the scalp, that is on the head. That time, the occipital lymph node over here, present over here, at the bottom of the head, on the neck, that occipital lymph node will swell. It will fight against that fungal infection. And once the infection is over, you can't feel it, the particular place to be swelling up. Now, you can't feel the swelling up of the lymph node. Now, this lymph is having plasma so that it can flow. It is having WBCs so that it can attack the germs. Apart from this, today, two things we will learn. I have written it as a note over here: erythropoiesis and erythropoietin. Erythropoiesis is the formation of RBC. The process of production of the RBCs in the ribs, in the sternum, that is the chest bone, as well as in the long bones like femur. There the production of RBCs will take place for the adults. And for the fetus, means the baby which is in the mother's womb, those unborn baby, their RBCs will be formed in their liver. That is known as erythropoiesis, production of RBCs. And the production of RBCs is checked by one hormone known as erythropoietin. Erythropoietin is released by kidneys when there is lack of oxygen supply. As a response, for the lack of oxygen supply in the body, the erythropoietin will be released. And that erythropoietin will have a proper check or proper control over the production of the RBCs in our body. Neither it will allow the RBC to go too high, nor it will allow the RBC to go too low. So I hope you will understand this video. Please match the video with your text, and if any doubts, you can ask. Thanks a lot.